Just waiting for the notice that it's starting to recover. Okay, it is.
Button in the middle at the back.
Yeah, so
okay.
you can share your screen.
Cool. All right, I'll chuck it into reading mode. Okay, so yeah, I think people can see that now. So yes, I was just going to cover off some of what we achieved over the last year and just flash up and remind ourselves about some of the content that we captured through the various workshops that we had. So I'm just going to run through 3 things for everyone on the call. And I think looking at who is on the call, many of you were involved. When I say many of you, I know there's a few of us on the call, but you were involved with these sessions as well. So I hope you got some benefit from it. The first one was very much the one that got the ball rolling. So we did do an assessment exercise early on that looked at what content we did want to cover across the group over the course of the year, what was most meaningful that we'd get value from through virtual workshops, etc. And we came up with a couple of things around asset criticality, asset prioritization, and then this real interest in a digital asset management plan platform. I think we were across our utilities or programs, recognizing that there was a collective challenge around engaging with our organization upwards and downwards, and trying to position AMPS as something that sort of, links a lot of the value chain together. So we looked at digital AMPS to start with, and I've just flashed up on here some of the benefits that we captured here, both within a utility from looking inwardly, that perspective, and then also considering that what it might bring in terms of benefit in the wider industry. So starting to level the playing field in terms of how we could sort of benchmark against one another, share information, etc. So that was workshop 1. We went along into I'll just move forward one. I'm in reading mode. Into the second one, which is around life cycle costing and that approach. And this was a great session because we had some prior content which was presented by quite a few of the utilities. So I think we had Tacoma Water, Portland Water Bureau, and we had Metro Vancouver as well. So that was really good, prompted some of the discussion, which meant coming out of this, we actually captured loads. Some of the challenges is were recurring themes throughout, which we've been able to carry forward. So I'll finish on a slide that just ends with a bit of thought around where we could go next, because I know that's later on in your slides as well, Cello. The third workshop was around criticality assessment methods. So we came back and having looked at what we wanted to cover early on in the piece, came back to the criticality assessment methods, and this drew us back to what was our to-be process that we developed in year 1. So we focused on a couple of those sub-processes within that, called on the help of Mike and others to get us across the line with just providing some updates to some of those sub-processes as well, and also allowed, I guess, all of the utilities who were involved with this effort in year 2 a chance to just focus on some of what they were doing internally when it came to this type of methodology. So a big thanks to everyone who took part in the group this year. Like I said at the beginning, for those that were on the line, I thoroughly enjoyed it and took a lot away from it. And I know Team 200 as the member organisation in this group got a great deal of benefit from the feedback that was captured from all the various utilities regarding the digital asset management plan. That's been really useful and really helped the Team 200 utility and program move forward. So where does that leave us? And I don't know if you want me to go into it now, Cello, but I guess it's just some ideas around what could prompt work into year 3 as we move into WISE and the approach as water entrepreneurs. So in the report, for those that have read it, and I think you'll cover that, Cello, in terms of finalising it, but there's a few things that we picked up on coming out of the presentations, and These were themes we discussed across the group on a regular basis, but they were crystallized very much towards the end when Toho Water, Mike Sweeney and the team presented on these. So the idea of roles and responsibilities across the AMP process. So if you look at our to be process, one of the early tasks is to establish that AMP development team, and it puts a pretty good collective group together to look at taking the AMP through the update process. But there's the idea of other people that you engage with across the wider process too. And what we heard about a PMO being set up to do that was really interesting. So I think there's something there that could be explored, and that probably would link into a couple of other topic areas as well, but certainly draw us back to that core idea of, establishing a consistent process for asset management planning. The second one is around stage gates for project execution versus the timing around condition assessments as well. So Team 200 found this as well, so I understand its relevance there, but the idea of delivering a project that's coming out of that's identified in an asset management plan as a renewal or whatever it may be, and aligning that project so that it is feeding off accurate condition assessment information. So quite a tactical piece and quite a detailed piece, but actually would help clarify a lot of the roles and responsibilities that I mentioned before across the project execution phase. So there's two ideas there. I think we take those away, and we've captured those in the report. And then on the right side, coming out of, in particular, the workshops we did, there was clearly still that challenge we've got around data quality and maturity. And I know in year one, Cello and Scott, we captured a lot around data when we looked at people, process and technology. So I do think there is merit in taking a look at how the different utility groups do approach the quality of data and maturity of data within the organisations. And then build upon the last workshop we had when we looked at criticality and prioritization, but apply that specifically to data. So I think it would get us to a position of collectively, hopefully, understanding how we could make better use of data or leverage, the quality, whatever it may be, of data that does exist to better support the asset management plan development process.
Yeah. Hey, Richard, maybe we want to take a pause and just get reactions from the people that are on the line. We had a couple more join, and they could have comments about next year as well, and some things that they would be looking for in asset management plans.
Sure thing.
And you don't all have to speak at once, but we might want to go around the horn there.
I only had 5 minutes, and I think I've used it. So yeah, please do shout out anyone else if you think some of that resonates, or if there's something else we should be picking up and considering.
Hey Richard, I just have a quick question.
There you go.
Hey, just a quick question on the report. We're just wondering about the answers that we provided when we did the mural sessions. Maybe published as part of the report, because we did those things in 5-10 minutes. I just worried that we're providing information that not representative of the whole department.
Yeah, no. So what I've did with that, actually, it's a good question. So we've captured all that. It's not going to disappear, and we can always go back and refer to it. But there was a lot of, when you look at some of the exercises we did, there were slightly different responses that I did end up rolling together to give a view on some of those key themes that we have captured, particularly around skills shortages, the data quality bits and pieces I mentioned as well. So there could possibly be something to work on there in terms of taking a step back, looking at what we captured again, and making sure it was consistent in terms of our understanding of what it was we were putting forward as ideas or challenges, etc. But for the reporting purposes, I'm pretty confident it was representative of everyone's views. Yep.
Okay, it's not just a utility specific. I just don't want something I come up with in 5 minutes become our like what we county says.
Yeah. No, and that's a really good point. And if you look at, say, the sub process for the criticality assessment, there's not a huge deal of detail behind it. It's actually quite a simple sub process to follow that would allow utilities to put their own sort of elements into it. So it's not prescriptive totally, but something that is a decent framework to work upon.
Thank you.
What about Chris, Brittany, Mike? Any comments?
This is Brittany. Just a couple comments. Firstly, the workshops, I love them this year. With Loud and Water, we were just starting our asset management plan development, and we had a couple workshops on our side with our vendors we were working with to develop our dashboard and our framework for the plans. And we used the mural as we did in the workshop and kind of took a little bit of what we had been doing here. And we got a lot of information and connected with a lot of people within our organization. So that was a really helpful way for us to display what we were doing. So thank you for the inspiration on that. And maybe for the following year, just thinking of things with the plans, maybe like maintenance of asset management plans as they go on, like where the data is coming from, who's maintaining them, and what that kind of looks like for the asset management team.
That's a good idea, actually. While we've just got it on screen, I'll capture it, but maintenance, excuse my spelling. I'll tidy it up, but that's a good one. Oh yeah, double asset. That's how much we love it. Cool. Yeah, and I think that's quite good. Linked to quality. Laptop up on a kitchen bench, sat on a kitchen chair, so I'm not quite over my keyboard here. Yeah. Thanks for that, Brittany.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, I mean, this is Chris. I think it was very valuable, the calls and the workshop. I really enjoyed, the learning about those leading practices, especially those digital amps, other, the PMO approach. There's some valuation and life cycle analysis. So those are all sort of very helpful for me to apply in Metro Vancouver setting. So I think that was very good. In terms of so for the wrap up of the last year of UAIM, I think it'd be really nice if you can. I forgot where the link was for the final report. So I want to take a final look and not a common perspective, but just for FYI and see if that sort of aligns with everything that I learned from the sessions. In terms of next year, I think the data maturity piece is one of the key things that I think we should improve, especially for Metro Vancouver, because I mean, no matter how hard you work to gather data, there will be some data management, data maturity issues, and I think it's smart to better communicate that to any audience who's reading asset management plans, or we're just writing the state of the assets report, which is very similar, like some of the condition summary basically, and then so anyhow, so that I think it's important to communicate how we express and indicate the data quality. So I think that's one of the interests that I have for the next year as part of WISE.
Yeah, Mike.
All this is great. It's been a great track to be involved as much as I could be involved. Maybe we want to consider adding a bullet to leave a space for embracing innovation. There's some things going on with, in fact, we're testing, and maybe some of you might be familiar with an example of Pipe Sleuth, for instance. This is something that DC Water has developed with an AI firm, and it does scans of pipes using facial recognition technology. And there's a lot of other things out there that get into maybe the O&M side, but also condition assessment side that may be of interest to this team. So,
Richard, I'm just going to throw in, and I think Cello may cover this a little bit, but it may be worth putting a bullet, is that both there's a whole technology, integration where we're going to be integrating technology, and then also change management. You referred in your first couple of points to items that relate to change management, but we are going to have a process developed, and that could be useful to people that are part of this team as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think I know looking at the Team 200 example as well, I think that's something they're just starting to explore now, the idea of a change management group embedded into that program and that organization. So, I think there'd be a wealth of learning that just one member could take from several others there, if that was something we looked at.
Yep.
Great. Okay. Cello, I'll hand back to you now, but I'll send these slides across now that we've just captured a couple of extra bullets as well. And I think you cover the final report in a moment, so that might address Chris's comment about being able to take a look at that as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks. Okay. So I will put in the chat the link in our database that under lift for management under underscore UAIM. There's a folder called reports to WRF. I will put a link in the chat line. Right now, and if we go to this folder, and if you go to this folder, there is the report here, but there's also a number of case studies that were that are not in the body of the report. I think there's 18 of them. Then there are some training materials, the BPMN stuff and things like that. There are I don't know. Okay, this is actually should go to the case study folder. So the link is there to the folder. You can go to the report, either PDF version or the Word version. So the link is there. Chris, does it answer your question?
Yeah. No, that looks good.
Yeah. So the part of what we're going to do as we go forward to WISE is, the knowledge base here grew kind of organically. We started with like a Dropbox folder, and now there are more than 5,000 items there. And as we move to WEF, we're going to try to see what needs to move there, how to organize it over there, so that WEF can start being the administrator for that content. I hesitated to put anything, delete anything, but we have a library of videos. I think there's more than 70 of them for workshops and meetings and stuff like that. So we are going to look into that. So as far as planning the work for next year, let me just figure out where my stuff is. I have a link. Give me just a second. Okay, so this is the link. I will put that link in here to survey. So it is very simple survey. about things that people may be interested in doing as part of WISE, which areas, which initiatives, and things like that. And it's just very preliminary to get a sense for what people are interested in doing. In our previous interaction with during meetings, it seemed like people were interested in implementing these things, meaning we had a lot of very useful sharing and stuff, but they're interested in actually going in and implementing stuff that they've discussed during this year, and then write a case study. So this survey will, it takes less than 10 minutes to fill out. If it takes more than that, you're overthinking it. Just, kind of put your first thoughts there, because it's just kind of gauging the, a rough gauge of the interest. So as I mentioned, people really expressed in previous meetings when we did the Mentimeter thing in, kind of going forward into change management. And as far as the schedule, this month we're just kind of finalizing the report. When we get back the results of this survey, it'll help us form teams for the first year of WISE, because we had like 6 or 7 teams working this year, including the teams on workforce and organizational culture and so forth. So in May, we're just kind of trying to put closure on it, get some final comments, and have an outline of the work plan. And then when we start with WISE, we're going to start in June planning, but the project is going to officially kick off on September 1, because it's the start of the fiscal year for WEF, and also historically, we've seen a bit of a drop off during summer months. People take time off, and for Richard, it's going to be really winter vacation. We're going to use that time to develop detailed work plans, core teams, and plan engagement in terms of, the leads for different initiatives and so forth. So that's kind of a rough, high-level plan. I'm going to stop and just see if there are any questions at this point.
I've probably got one, Cello, just around plans for leading the different topic groups.
Yeah.
Whether there's you want volunteers to come forward from the utilities for that. Look, wait and see what the survey says for sure. But is that an approach that you're going to consider, do you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. We absolutely want to have each of the initiatives that we do led by one of the members, participants. So it's the idea that the project team would simply facilitate, create the structure, and encourage, and be the connecting tissue, perhaps a little bit, for these efforts. And it's having people who are facing these problems in utilities every day take the lead really helps us stay grounded and makes sure that we are addressing, their needs and priorities. So we will absolutely be looking for, folks who would be gracious enough to help us and take the lead in the next year of WISE. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. So Team 2100 was the lead. They certainly could be a candidate. We had Craig Edlin from MCES during the first year. We could have a different lead during the third year. So people should indicate. We'll probably have something more formal that develops or on a case-by-case basis. For that, right, Cello?
Yeah, and for example, on the asset management plan, and it's due to be, no, they were on risk, Mert and Doug. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
They used to be on risk, and now it's Len has done a marvelous job in the last year. So the idea is that it's a bit of work to take the leading role. And the idea is that we don't put the heavy burden on the same people every year. So, but if they unless they, are ready to do it, and it has been such a collaborative exercise that these connections have been developing. So I hope that and expect that we'll have, some folks who will be stepping forward. And it doesn't have to be a single utility. Like our organizational culture, we have Mark Poling from Clean Water Services. We have Zonetta from Louisville MSD. There was Paul Cadota for a while from Metropolitan Vancouver. So it's not like there's just one flag for every effort, and it's really kind of flexible and fluid.
Yeah, I think that would work. That will work well. And I think, to be fair, towards the end of our effort this year, it was going that way. In any case, there was, we got to the point where the ideas were coming forward that, everyone was stepping in to take on a piece for discussions as they went on. And I asked that as well because Craig was really useful in sort of setting out some expectations based on his experience in year one of, what someone leading a topic or initiative would need to do. So I think if I'll put that into the survey just so you can communicate that to other utilities as well.
Yeah,
if they find it of use. Yeah,
that's great. And one of the things I want to mention is that we've looked at the processes quite a bit. We've looked at now workforce and organization. We have not looked at technology that much yet. I happen to be also involved in the WRF project on smart utilities and intelligent water systems. And I think that there's like 70 utilities on there. There's some overlap, like Clean Water Services, Washington Suburban, they're involved. So I'm working with that team on developing a maturity model and an assessment tool. Those are for technology stack. So our plan is to fold the results of that research effort, which will be done by the end of this year, into UAIM.
Or by August or so, right, Cello?
Well, they changed it a little bit. The project, it's a long story, but it's not going to be quite as, they asked for an extension.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that, I think that some of the basic stuff, the concepts are already there. So it may take a little while for the assessment tool to get cleaned up. But the project manager for the project resigned. So we had to, it went to a different company. So we had to kind of reset some things on that team. So so far when we worked this past year on change management, it was a lot of it was really mostly sharing. People were sharing what they do currently, the methods and so forth. What we're hoping to do in the next year is get a little bit more detailed. And since change management is typically defined as a process, to use the process mapping tools and modeling tools to try to describe sort of how change management works, and then explore how to do it in a holistic way, because we all have horror stories when you just work on the technology, but you don't you don't take into account workforce or organization or processes. That's every technology provider will say, well, yeah, that's really a problem. So I think it will fit very well, and so we expect to pick up quite a bit the activity on the change management. Any questions on this? Okay, there's Jenny. Hi, Jenny. And so one thing that I wanted to just flash really quickly is, how do we look at these, things in a holistic way? And the idea is that we're developing, like on the left side of this spider diagram, these are all the things that currently have been developing for the past year, these employee engagement, teamwork, collaboration, organizational values. We're developing a tool, and we have a first draft version that will assess the maturity from like 1 to 5 for the workforce and organization. We have looked at processes, and on that WRF project, we're looking at technology. So the idea is that these black dots are where are you now, and then the blue dots are where do you want to make changes, but to basically bring these aspects of how we do the work, what impacts are creating value internally. And just to show on an example, for example, if we zoom in on technology, if we are at level 2 here, then we're going to look at how to do the change management for analytics, for data management, and our asset infrastructure. So that's sort of the idea, is that we would work towards having a framework that's kind of holistic, and how all these things would be kind of connecting together. Does that make any sense? Any questions or thoughts? Okay, just a second.
I think some people might have thought that this meeting started at 7:30.
Yeah. Well, I think there was we have the situation has changed on the situation with the time zones has changed slightly, because Richard used to be 8 hours away from the Pacific zone, and now he's a lot more ahead. So he's getting further and further ahead of us.
I'll only apologize once for that as well.
No, so we just moved it 30 minutes earlier to make it a little bit. It's past midnight where he is, so we wanted to. And he may have to like operate heavy machinery tomorrow or something like that. Who knows? And we didn't want him to, be a risk to himself and others. So this one meeting was moved half an hour earlier, and I apologize if that didn't come through clearly. And it is being recorded. I will post it, and we will post it both to our knowledge base and to the YouTube channel. And I'm going to send a link to the video to everybody who's present. So that's kind of where we're at. So are there any questions or thoughts?
I'd just add that I think the technology, the addition there is, it does, even, I know graphically shows it at the moment, but it does start to complete the picture a bit. And the work that, all the initiatives have done, blending that with the outputs of the smart utilities piece, I think will be of great value. So, what I'm seeing there, I think is definitely worthwhile considering for next year.
Yeah, we will. Since I've been working on this for the past several months, we're basically already kind of going in that direction. We just kind of have to wait till that project is done, so we don't step on their toes, and then we can immediately transfer the principles and to the WISE program. And what's interesting is that both of these things were WRF projects, but there was really, it makes a lot of sense to integrate that kind of research that's related. And it's not often done, because typically a different company A works on piece for technology, company B may do a research project on something else. So what we try to do also that's a little bit new is say, well, why don't we just kind of connect these two, the results from these two efforts. And I think it'll be naturally fit, for example, with business process models, because in business process models we'll indicate and describe what technology is being used, what data is required, and so forth. So it'll all kind of start to make more sense.
I would just throw in that this particular group was sort of a pathfinder group, so to speak, for some of the other teams. It was the first group to do workshops, and a lot of things that we learned from those workshops we were able to translate to some of the other teams, and the content was very rich. The participation was great, and I think everybody'd agree that both Richard and Patricia did a wonderful job leading the group as well. We are curious how Patricia's doing, but yeah, we got some claps there for that, but it was really a great job.
Yeah, it really was, and I think that everybody had a good time. So that's, that has been very helpful. And as I say, we have turned in the final report. We're just waiting for the reviews. So this month is sort of transition to complete the WRF portion, and then we're going to go forward forward with the WISE program. And I have been working with WEF people. When I say I mean the project team. Mark Pauling as a chair of the steering committee, and Scott's been involved every step of the way. So we are working with WEF. And for those who don't know, Fidan was our project manager for WRF. She resigned from WRF and joined WEF. So she will be our project manager on the WEF side. So I don't know how Fidan didn't get discouraged in all these years and how she made this decision. One might question her judgment. I'm just kidding. But we're very happy to have her. We're very happy to have her.
Yeah, for the, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Scott.
Well, I was just going to say, for those that joined late, be sure to go to the links and do the 10-minute survey, and listen to the recording for the things that you missed. There was some good material that Richard presented too. So that kind of summed up the efforts of the year, and some good prospects for what the team could work on going forward.
Yeah, I just reposted the link to the survey in the chat line, and it really is just a few minutes. We're just trying to gauge how to structure the scope, how to structure the teams, because we currently have 120 people on the list, and we don't want to be sending emails about each thing to 120 people. And so if we know, okay, these folks are interested in asset management plans, these folks are interested in workforce, and we have a whole new set of people from HR departments and so forth who are involved on these people issues. So that will really help us make sure that our scope is targeted to the priorities of participating utilities. So this call was anticipated to be less than an hour, and just to be sort of kind of putting a wrapper on the work. And also it's important, and I will speak for Scott and myself, we are very happy and proud and thankful for the engagement. And it's really a reason for me to get up in the morning, to tell you the truth, because when I see this kind of collaboration, it's very rewarding. And I am looking forward to having some new adventures, and we have some additional utilities who are considering participation. So there may be new people. We will have a workshop at the Utility Management Conference, And I don't know. I intended to ask people if they're going to join, but I was advised to wait until June, because I was told that until June people may not know if they're going to be able to make utility manager conference or not. So I got 13 days to go before I fire off another survey.
Hey, Cello,
Yes.
thanks for all your help, of course, and Scott too, and all the leaders, Richard and everybody. I wanted to ask an overhead question, meaning that WRF had certain things, certain hoops certainly, that you had to jump through as PIs and so forth. WEF appears to me, or at least feels like it may be a little less overhead, we'll call it. But I would imagine they'll want, while being of benefit to the membership of WEF, there's also expectations that WEF has for WISE. Does it amount to sort of an annual report that we together would contribute to, or do you have a feel for that and how much time that will take? And maybe Fadan would be a big help there too.
Yeah, what I my own thought, if you like, is that this kind of effort, we had to fit it within a project format and a project form, which is that you end up with a report and so forth, because that's how the WERF and WRF work. You get a report. What I was envisioning for WISE is that it'll be kind of continual improvement to online information, and the content gets richer and broader, and the membership grows, so that there wouldn't be a clear delineation. Okay, you get a report. It seems to me that our experience also has been that people really don't read reports, and it's like I asked Fidan what their expectation is, and she said that WRF's expectation was that our report would be 20, 30 pages. Well, it was, I think, like 100 pages plus 18 case studies and all the other stuff. And so we will need to find a way that we can manage progress, and that people can go back to their organizations and say, these are the tangible things, the benefits that we're getting. And perhaps it'll be maybe reports in a different format, and more interactive, more online, and more sort of going towards kind of adding some educational piece to it. Also nurturing the peer-to-peer interaction as much as possible, so that it kind of becomes like a self-propelling online community. I hope that doesn't sound too vague what I'm just.
No, I get it. You're guessing a little bit, and you're getting some information too, and that's fair. I just hope that people that are active with WISE, and it's growing, that's always good to hear, are aiming themselves toward product or deliverables that will be easy to convey to WEF to help your overhead, because I know it was considerable at times and frustrating too. And that's just not the whole story. It's the writing of the report and all the things that you would expect it to do anyway as a PI. But that's my only comment, that it will give you more time to be creative along with us. Not that you haven't been, and Scott as well. That's my wish, and that I just hope it's fulfilled.
Well, it's very much appreciated. And, there have been situations where we're in a phone call with 20 people and I'm getting emails. I can't get into the, meeting and stuff like that.
Yeah, that too.
I'm admin for the, Microsoft Teams and for OneDrive. So there's a lot of stuff, but it all has to happen. And so you're right. I hope that WEF, I think we may be prodding them to go a little bit faster in the direction where they want to go anyway. We're talking to Barry Liner and Lisa McFadden. They're very forward kind of looking folks. And we're going to do everything we can to make that successful, and I hope they're going to be a good partner. You know, expect to be that they're going to be a good partner. It certainly looks like that this way. So
Sounds
far.
good. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Well, anyway, any other thoughts or ideas people want to share? I'm going to stop recording, but what I want to